Hi, my name's Pharaoh, and this is the second in a sequence of Corvette videos for very early gameplay, so for beginners basically. And in the first video we got to the point where we had this Corvette, a very, very basic Corvette that we can use to start farming for more Corvette parts. In this video I'm going to try and explain and detail some of the things that are really worth getting inside your Corvette, and thereby the reason you might want a Corvette in the first place. So one of the things you can always build is cargo. Now, as you can see, we need microprocessors and we need metal plating. Now, we can usually buy such things in a space station. Now, I don't have a lot of money because this really is a very early save, but let's go and see how much it would cost us. So we can buy microprocessors and metal plating, I think in every system, but we can definitely in this one. And so I think it was one of those and 3 of those. So it's going to cost us actually not that much. I mean, I've got 128,000. I got that while I was running around doing my early stuff. I can actually, at this stage, I've got a few things, like I picked up this from the last video you saw. You can actually watch how I got here in the first place, because there was a stream I did, which I'll put on the screen above my head here, if you want to see how I got to this point before I even started worrying about Corvettes. Have I got anything here I can sell? I know why I'm not finding it. It's because it was in my normal ship. So let me summon the Radiant Pillar. You'll see that the Corvette disappeared from its landing pad and we have our normal ship here. I have a few things here I could sell, or I could refine. I even have a part there. I can chuck that in the Corvette workshop. So I could sell these. I picked these up during the stream where I was demonstrating early gameplay. You also see I've got some metal plating already, so I'll definitely put that in there. I've got some. Let's put most of this stuff in here. I can always use this ship as spare storage, so I can leave some of this stuff in here, including my portable refiner, for instance. I know how to get it now. And as long as I've got some launch thrusters in here, then I can always call this on a planet at any time. So let's sell these. So that's giving me 2 million straight off the bat. Now, not every early game player is going to get larval cores. It's a little bit dangerous to do when you're not really sure what's going on in the game. So I wouldn't necessarily advise that. There are lots of other ways you can get money. A very simple way of getting early game money would be to just fly in space and shoot asteroids. You can get gold and silver, sometimes platinum. They're not it's not a super effective way, but early stages of the game, well, let's do it with this ship. Usually when you fly out of the anomaly, one way or other you will see an asteroid belt. It's usually, there's one. Just fly around the space station, you will usually see an asteroid belt right next to the space station. It's almost guaranteed. Now, the worst thing that can happen is you get attacked by pirates. But because we're in the one closest to the space station, we can always get back to the space station if we didn't want to fight. You can usually tackle pirates early on. One of the things that the game doesn't really make clear is that the pirates are scaled, so you tend to get low-level pirates attacking low-level characters, and as you get higher up and more progressed, then you get better pirates attacking you. So they're usually quite rubbish early on. The other thing you have to be a little bit wary of, I think I can hear one here somewhere. There's one. There's also another NPC ship mining. If I shot him by mistake, then he would suddenly think I was acting as a pirate, and we don't really want that. If it does happen, you can always land at the space station again, and that will reset that. Now, as you can see, I'm getting some useful stuff. I wouldn't ever sell the tritium because we can use that to fuel our ships. I wouldn't sell the tritium hyperclusters. I'd usually keep a few, but if I had a few, then I could analyze them and get some more tritium. But as you can see, we can reasonably easily farm some nice metals, gold and silver and gold nuggets. We can always analyze gold nuggets, and that gives us more gold. We're not getting a super large amount, but we've got 22,000. So we're building up some money, and as you remember, the microprocessors weren't that much. Now we have a pirate clicked up. Now, it could be a pirate that's a long way away. It's not actually attacking us. Or it could be one nearby that is attacking us. To be honest, as I say, they are reasonably easy to defeat early on. As long as you're not in higher difficulty modes, you can actually get a bit of money for shooting these. And we've always got that space station we can limp back to because we're not far from it. Or we could call in the anomaly. So let's get back to farming. Now, there are more effective ways of farming for money. But I just wanted to demonstrate that for things like a little bit of metal plating and some microprocessors, you could probably make do with this. So let's go back to the space station. And I'll demonstrate the way that I like to advise people to make money early on. There are lots of other ways. But one of the ways that I often advise people to make money is by focusing on their multi-tool. The scanner doesn't actually start very good. You don't get a lot of money for scanning animals and plants, etc. But usually we can buy some scanner modules with the few nanites we might have picked up along the way. So if you come to this guy, you can usually pick up some cheap scanner modules. I mean, we've only got a C class that we can afford, but it's actually, I think, worth it very early on in the game to just pick up scanner modules. Let's install that scanner module first. And as you can see, scanner modules will give us extra percentages for scanning things, in this case flora. Now fauna can be a little bit more lucrative, so that wasn't the best roll we got on that particular module. But that just means that when we go down to planets and scan things, we're getting a bit more money as we're going along. And I like to do that as an early method of getting money. And then you can always get the nanites for scanning things and then use those nanites to buy better modules. Let's sell our silver and gold. We'll sell all of it. And let's buy, I think it was one microprocessor. I think I already had some metal plating, so I won't buy that. But as you can see, it's a reasonably quick and easy way to get those resources. So here we go. We can place some storage. The storage may look different to you. It depends what type of hab you used, because each hab has its own design style. But there's our storage. And now we can select storage, and we can put some of our stuff in here, or we can just hit Y. So if we want to put the gold and silver, we haven't got any gold anymore, but we want to put the silver in there. I mean, one thing we might want to do is move all of these things to our starship for now. Summon our other ship. Because if you remember, we said we could use that for temporary storage, but now we have storage. We have it in our Corvette. One of the good reasons for having a Corvette is having access to storage early on. And resummon our Corvette. Access our storage. And we can put everything we don't really need right now. We're not sure what it is, maybe. Early game, you might not know what's a good idea to get rid of and what isn't a good idea to get rid of. I can chuck a lot of this straight into my storage and then worry about it later. And now we can always access this while we're in the space station. So we can just come here, grab what we want to sell or use or otherwise hand out to NPCs or whatever they are. And then we can put them in our inventory and go and do that. So we've got access to these things now. So we only really need to use our inventory for the most basic things that we know we're going to use. So now I can juggle this inventory and decide what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep on me at all times. So I want to keep some navigation data because that can call my ship to me. I want to keep some creature pellets because that will keep my pet happy. I usually want each of the carbon, oxygen and condensed carbon. I don't really need chromatic metal on me. I can always keep that in here. And because we're flying around in our Corvette most of the time, this container is going to be available to us all the time anyway. In fact, we can pull stuff from here using this. So I'll just show you what I'm doing. I'm selecting transfer items, in this case Y, if I'm using the mouse X on the keyboard. And I select storage container inventory, and I can pull things straight out of storage into my exosuit. I could also do that straight into my ship. So if I wanted to keep my portable refiner in my ship, that's one way of grabbing it. So I don't have to use the interface at all. I can just select that and decide what I want to keep in my ship. I might want to keep silver and the rusted metal, for instance. So that's the absolute best thing, I think, for a new player is storage in your Corvette. Now, other things you might want to try and aim for early on. There's the refiner unit, and there's the nutrition unit, and there's the living wall. Mission radar, it's quite nice to have. As you can see, you don't really need an awful lot. Again, it's a microprocessor in gold, and that can give you missions to run. But they're a little bit extended missions. They're not the simplest missions to start with. So I wouldn't necessarily say that was an early one to get. But I would definitely recommend refining, for instance, because then we don't really need that little refiner that we put on the floor. We can use this. So what will we need? We'll need platinum, and we'll need hydraulic wiring. Hydraulic wiring is something that you can sometimes just buy at the space station terminal. So let's have a look there first. As you can see, we can even buy platinum in this particular space station. That won't necessarily apply in all space stations, but we're already on a winner here. It doesn't look like we can buy the hydraulic wiring straight from the space station, but let's get the platinum. So we only need 20. That's not going to cost us an awful lot. If you do see it for sale, it's definitely worth it. So that's going to cost us 13,000. So the hydraulic wiring, if you can't get that from the space station, you can sometimes get that from traders flying in and out. But remember, at this stage, we'll have had to have gone to at least 2 systems. So we can always go back to our space station here, where we first ever started the game, and see what we can buy there, and see if any ships come in. So again, we're looking for hydraulic wiring. And we're still not seeing any here either. So let's see if any ships come in. Let's wait for a second. This is a comfortable economy, so we really should see some ships coming in here. Here comes something. And these have a chance of selling hydraulic wiring too. And they also have a chance of selling the platinum if the space station didn't sell it. Offer to trade. And there we are. Lucky, straight away we got a hydraulic wiring. I think we only needed the one. Let's get a couple. And this one doesn't have any platinum. But we did obviously manage to do that. But just to demonstrate, we'll maybe wait for another couple of traders and see if we can get platinum. We might not see them straight away. And then if you're really struggling for platinum, ship actually. If we're really struggling for platinum, there are other methods, but let's see if we can just buy it. It's often a lot easier. We can. Second person we looked at. It's often a lot easier to just buy things, especially these small amounts that we need for things like building something. So, refiner unit, 20 platinum, 1 hydraulic wiring, and we're off to a great start because now we can refine things. And if you remember our little, I think I still have it available, yep. The little portable refiner, it always needs fuel, and it's only got one slot to put things in. So we could easily make some, let me see, what have we got here? We could make some carbon out of oxygen, but that's just a one thing for one thing. So in the refiner, we've got more than one thing. So one of the things you can do very early on, which is quite handy, I think, is instead of just you can use oxygen and carbon, and you can make condensed carbon. Now there are hundreds of recipes we can make, and the recipes are stored in the catalogue under recipes here, and you get simple refiner recipes, like things with just one item. These are things we've already made along the way. You can get more complicated refiner recipes. Now we've only in this save tried to make condensed carbon with oxygen and carbon, so we've only got the one recipe here, but you don't actually have to make it in order to keep it in your refiner recipes. So as you just saw, I just put some oxygen and some carbon in the refiner, but I didn't actually click refine, but I've now got that recipe here. So you can build up your recipe knowledge without actually refining things. And I don't have anything complex yet. Complex would be putting something in all three. I don't think anything would go with oxygen and carbon. I don't think there's a anything useful. Oh, there is. We can make unstable plasma, look. So now we've got a complex recipe as well. Unstable plasma. Let's get rid of that for a second. Now the other thing we can make is we can make condensed carbon and oxygen instead of carbon and oxygen. And that actually makes condensed carbon still, but more efficiently. As you can see, it uses 1 of those to 2 of those will make 1 of those. It actually makes 6 of those, sorry. So 1 condensed carbon and 2 oxygen makes 6 condensed carbon. So in this way, you can start to use more elaborate recipes, much more efficient recipes. Another thing that's worth knowing, if you've still got some copper, because you'll have had to have mined some copper, doesn't look like we still do have any. No, it doesn't look like we do. Did we put it in our storage? No, we don't currently have any. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go and get some copper. Because again, this is one of those tricks that experienced players know and other players, newer players, don't necessarily worry about because they don't have access to a large refiner straight away. But with Corvettes, we can get this really easily. So we're kind of shortcutting a lot of the game. So, how do we find copper efficiently? Well, we're in a Corvette, so it's very easy to find anything. We just, as I did before, we head along in a direction. We maintain our current flight path. And we look around. Let's look this side so we don't accidentally activate something. That's a resource. That's pyrite. That's a resource. That's pyrite. See, if I try and select this one, it selects the refiner for me. So we just want to either look in this direction or go out onto the hatch and look directly. So what's that? That's cobalt. Could be handy. What's that? That's pyrite. That is handy. That's cobalt. There should be copper on this planet because it's a normal yellow star system. So it's just a matter of being patient and looking for it. There's another blue one. That's pyrite. There's one that's cobalt. Being a bit unlucky here. There's one. It's copper. So now we've got that selected. Now we can't mine that from our Corvette. It's not like the earlier salvage that we were using this method for. We will have to land. But we can literally hover over it, get out of our seat, and even though it doesn't look very nice weather down there, we don't have to spend very long down there. We can beam down to the planet. We can find our copper that should be marked. There it is. And we'll also demonstrate, if you remember, we got an extra scanner for flora, so if we do that, we get a little bit more money than we were getting before. We got 3,900, so we got about 4,000 for that. So terrain. Now, earlier on in the stream where I did this, I did mention you can change the size of this thing, and it's more efficient to go smaller. To be honest, it doesn't matter as much, because what we're going to do is we're going to use a bit of a trick to expand our copper. Now we've got a better refiner. Let's just give ourselves... There we go. Right. So let's just grab it. A little bit bigger. Just grab a bit more. That'll be enough. For the purposes of this exercise. Where's our ship? We look for this little kind of monument symbol. We don't see the ship. It's hidden underneath that monument symbol, which is our little beam up. So we haven't had to mess around on this planet too long. We could always wait here if there was a storm and wait for the storm to dissipate. Or if we really wanted to, we could tunnel underneath the copper just to protect ourselves from the elements. Now, to demonstrate the little trick I want to use with copper, I'm also going to need a little bit of gold. So let's grab some of that the way we already showed. Not getting any at the moment, but it's quite random. There's a bit of gold, not much. Got silver. We need the silver as well, though. Ideally, I want a gold nugget, because that would really bump the amount of gold up. So that's a rarer drop from these. Now, there is a prevailing theory that a lot of people do say, and I think it might be true, but I've not found it very easy to confirm in the game files, that these stellarized asteroids actually give you slightly better things. And in this system, it does seem slightly more common that they'll give you platinum, which is not really something I'm looking for right this minute. But as we just went on a search for platinum, that's worth knowing as well. There, we've got some platinum there. So what we got? We've got a bit of gold, we've got a bit of silver. That's enough to demonstrate at least the idea of what we're trying to do. Silver plus gold plus copper equals chromatic metal. And as you can see, we need 1 silver, 1 gold, and 1 copper will make 5 chromatic metal. So out of these 20 silver, 20 gold, and 20 copper, we can make 100 chromatic metal. Now, if we add to that knowledge the fact that copper plus chromatic metal equals more copper, that becomes quite a valuable thing. It's like a loop. I'll show you that in a second, but copper is 1, chromatic metal is 1, and we get 2 copper. So we're effectively turning chromatic metal into copper 1 for 1 just by putting a bit more copper in with it, which we're not losing because we're getting that back as well. So we're effectively turning all of our chromatic metal back into the metal that it came from. So we now have 40 copper. And if we add our 20 silver and 20 gold to that, then 20 of that is going to turn back into chromatic metal, but at 1:5 ratio. So we're now going to get more chromatic metal. We're going to get 100 of it, which we can then use to make more copper. So we can build up our copper and chromatic metal reserves very easily, as long as we don't get rid of one or the other of them. Because if we end up where we don't have any more copper, then we can't carry on the loop. So as long as you're keeping a small amount back of both of those resources, all we need to do is use silver and gold, which, as I've demonstrated, is quite easy to get small amounts of. And we can make quite a lot of copper and chromatic metal with very little expenditure or very little effort, because we can just leave that running and carry on with our day. So what I tend to do is I tend to keep some chromatic metal tucked away in my storage, and I would normally try and keep some copper tucked away in my storage, but obviously at the moment it's sitting in my refiner. And that way I won't be using any of it up. And then if I ever want to do this loop, I take some of it out and then start combining it with my silver and my gold. And as long as I don't take all of my copper and all of my chromatic metal out of storage, I know that I'm not going to completely run out. And I've got unlimited reserves of chromatic metal or copper as long as I've got access to gold or silver. So I've talked a lot about silver and gold, and there is one way that you can buy items that you can refine into silver and gold. And I'm not suggesting these as ways that are going to help you make money, because they're going to cost more this way. Effectively what we're doing is we're buying crafting items that usually would be made to make better crafting items later on in the game. But at a pinch, if you need to get a load of silver and gold, say if you wanted to make a lot of chromatic metal, and one reason you might want to do that is the Atlas path, but we'll worry about that if we ever get to that stage. We can buy certain things from traders. That trader's just disappeared. Now, let's have a quick look at this guy. I don't think this guy has anything. You can usually work it out from the model of the ship, and I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't have any of the items. He doesn't. The model of the ship, which can be quite distinctive, will tell you what the items will be. So, for instance, that's a different hauler, so it's worth checking him. But I'm going to quickly check this Explorer. I don't think I've seen this before. And this one has dirty bronze. Now, the 4 items that we'd probably want to be looking for would be Aronium, Magno Gold, Dirty Bronze, and Lemium. Each of these can be bought from traders, and I wouldn't say buy lots of that. Say, for instance, if we buy 1 Dirty Bronze, which is going to cost us a lot of money, 41,658. And let's see if we can get some of the other items. We probably only really need to get a couple of them as an example. I don't want to spend too much cash at this stage. I just don't have a lot of cash. Dirty bronze still. Already got that. Actually, I just did exactly what I said not to do. That ship is identical to that ship, so it will have the same things. You can also see that that NPC is the same as that NPC. These things are static. You have the same lists and the same NPC per ship. So let's wait for another ship to come in. This one's got lemium, so that's an example of a couple. So let's take these back to our ship and we'll see what we get from those. 1 lemium. And you can see that makes 125 gold out of 1 lemium. So basically we've spent quite a lot of money, but we've saved a bit of time on mining the gold. This isn't even the most efficient way, but it's a quick and easy way. And the dirty bronze, that's making 250 silver. So we've increased the amount of silver and the amount of gold, but we have spent quite a bit of cash on it. Now, I did spend some cash earlier. If you remember, I had approaching 2 million, I think. So I've been spending a lot of money to build up my chromatic metal reserves. And even if I sell it, I'm not going to recoup the money I spent. So I'm not suggesting that this is a good way of actually getting silver and gold. But if you've got like 4,000 silver but only 50 or 60 gold and you want to quickly make something, then this could be a way of doing it. Now, while we're talking about the refiner unit, it's worth mentioning a couple of recipes that you might find useful. I wouldn't say they were super efficient, but they can be slightly more efficient, and it depends what you have on you. In our complex recipes, you can make life support gel and ion batteries. Now, life support gel I'd suggest would be a little bit more efficient, because usually you'd need to turn dihydrogen into dihydrogen jelly, and the way you would craft that would take 40 dihydrogen. There are other ways, but you can buy it as well. But if you happen to have oxygen, condensed carbon and dihydrogen on you, then that's not a bad recipe. And if you have had a few stacks of those, if you'd run around a planet and gathered a load of that stuff, you could set that running and make a load of life support gel in the background, so you wouldn't be actively crafting it. But of course, crafting is a relatively fast process. We can make things like that quite quickly if we have the resources. So I can add to my number, so I can make 6 off the bat. It's just a choice. There's 2 ways that you can do it, and you could set it up and get it to make a load, maybe make 100 or so in the background while you're off doing other things. And the same can be said for the ion battery recipe. I would say this is possibly even a little bit less efficient. It does cut out the need for cobalt. Cobalt is usually mined in caves, but you can buy it in quite large quantities in space stations or from traders. So again, there are easier ways to make it if you want to just craft it and craft it in large quantities. But if you again have access to ferrite dust, silver and sodium, ferrite dust and sodium obviously we can get from planets quite easily. Silver, you now know, we can get from asteroids. You could again make, say, 100 of these if you had enough of those resources stored up. So it gives you an extra option for those 2 things. So there you go. The 2 main things, the first things I would think about getting in my Corvette, and the main reason to have a Corvette early game, is storage, which I actually have a bit more to talk about, so I'll probably talk about in the next video, and the refiner, which, as you can see, is a huge subject in and of itself, but can allow us to make some quite useful recipes early on that will stop us having to do quite so much mining. So until the next time, I've been Pharaoh, travel well, and goodbye for now.